All right, we're going to do lesson 6.3. Sorry for that big clunk. Completing the worksheet and finding errors on a worksheet. Our learning objectives today will be how to prepare a balance sheet and income statement. Those are two separate things, and we'll see balance sheet and income statement columns of a worksheet. We're still working in worksheets. And then we're going to total and rule the worksheet. Okay, this means drawing lines. And then apply the steps for finding errors on a worksheet. I'll tell you right now, you might want to push pause and grab your book to follow along. This lesson is probably the most confusing of chapter 6, so I'm going to be going sort of slow and giving you time to follow along. So at this point, you have already recorded the account balances in the trial balance as well as the adjustments. Today we're going to learn how to record the current balance in one of two financial statement columns, the balance sheet or the income statement. The completion of the income statement and balance sheet columns of the worksheet provides an opportunity to correct errors before preparing the actual financial statements. As I said before, the actual financial statements, those are really important. Investors look at those to make sure a company is doing okay, to make sure that there's a net income versus a net loss. So the worksheet helps double check for any errors before they publish the final copy. So extending balance sheet account balances on a worksheet. A financial statement that reports the value of a business's assets, liabilities, and owner's equity on a specific date is called a balance sheet. So we have a specific date. And if you remember, we have assets equals liability minus equity. That's the equation we've been using since the beginning of the year. So up-to-date balance sheet account balances are extended to the balance sheet debit and credit columns of the worksheet. The worksheet has been quite wide. We just have not used the last columns yet. So today we're going to use the last columns. If you want to turn to pages C through G in your book, you're probably wondering, what do you mean C through G? Well, it's right after page 163 in section 6.3. It has the whole worksheet without the breaks. It has lines, all of the lines 1 through 19 together. In the slides, you're going to see little breaks where you'll see columns and then a space and more columns. This is the missing data, but in pages C through G, the breaks won't be there. It's much easier to follow. Okay, I'm going to go sort of slow, so bear with me and be patient. This is the worksheet that we've been working on all chapter. Okay, we learned how to put in all the accounts, and there are more accounts than line 10. These are just the debit balances without adjustments. So here we have all the accounts we've put in and all the debits and credits. Okay? And then for supplies and prepaid insurance, we have the adjustments. And today what we're going to do is take all of this information and carry it over. Okay? So if you look at the debit balances without adjustments, that's lines 1 through 4, cash, petty cash, accounts receivable, lines 1 through 4. All we did was carry this over. Got it? Pretty simple. And then we look at the debit balances with adjustments. So I've got my original debits, the adjustments, and the subtraction. Okay, 620 minus 530 is 90. 900 minus 150 is 750. Then the last thing, we have the credit balances without adjustments. So all of these just get carried over. And that cute little drawing one. Okay? So we're taking these columns, subtracting these columns, and writing our final. Extending income statement account balances on a worksheet. So we just did the balance sheet account balances on a worksheet. Now we're doing the income statement account balances on a worksheet. So a financial statement showing the revenue and expenses for a fiscal period is called an income statement. When extending balances, revenue and expenses always go in the income statement columns. So we're doing revenue and expenses. So we just finished lines 1 through 10. So we just did 1 through 10. Now we're going to finish lines 11 through 19. Okay, we're doing the income summary through supply expense. All right, so in the previous lesson, we filled in all of this information. Okay, and then we learned how to do adjustments, and now we're just carrying everything over. So we have our sale balance just gets carried over, and then advertising expenses. Okay, that's lines 13 through 16, just get carried over, 13 through 16. Then we have, 17. Okay, it's an adjustment right there. Miscellaneous expense is normal. Supply expense is an adjustment. Okay, and I think we totaled all of these in a previous lesson. So let's review. We have all of our sale balance, we have our sale balance. That's really important. That's how much income we made. It's the only income on this whole sheet. And then we have our expense balances without the adjustments. It's lines, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 18. Then we have our expense balances with adjustments right there, those two. Recording net income and totaling a ruling worksheet. Okay, this was the most confusing part for me. I had to do it a few times before I really got the hang of it. So the difference between total revenue and total expenses when total revenue is greater is called a net income. Okay, we made more money than we spent. That's a good thing. Excuse me. So we have filled in, we have filled in everything from this point up. Okay, all of this we just filled in. Trust me, we just did it. So now we're going to total down. First of all, we draw a single rule all the way across. That's a single line. That means we're done. We're going to start totaling. Now, we total down right there. It's very important that I tell you that 2,658 is all of these added together. Okay? And carry this down. This is all of our totals. All of this total. All of this total. So this line right here are all of our totals of the columns. Now to get this number right here, you take our sales, which is right here, and you subtract this number. Okay, so sales, 5,820 minus 2,658 is 3,162. And that goes over here also. Now we're going to add this up. Okay, 2,658 plus 3,162 equals 5,820, which is right there. We did it right. Okay, this should always be that number. This one totals down. Okay, this just totals down, and here. Now, if these two numbers don't match and these two numbers don't match, you have done something wrong. Trust me. Go back. You may have subtracted wrong here, Okay, I did that once. I subtracted wrong here, which I carried that number over here, got this column and that column wrong. Very frustrating. Okay, so take your time, review. Total, this is a single rule. Total this down, put it there. This minus this goes here. Carry it over, write it there. Total down, total down, total down. Add this together. Carry it down, add this together. If these two numbers don't match and these two numbers don't match, you've done something wrong. Calculating and recording a net loss on a worksheet. The difference between total revenue and total expenses when total expenses are greater is called a net loss. Yep. Okay, so we have our net loss when, we have our single rule. We have our totals. And we have our net loss. Okay, it goes here and here. We have our net loss, extend it over, and total everything down. Okay, we've lost money during this accounting period. Finding and correcting errors on the worksheet. Several different kinds of errors may be made when preparing a worksheet. 3 examples. There may be errors in the accounting records. There may be errors in calculations. Any amount may be entered in the wrong column. An amount may be entered in the wrong column. This is the one that we're going to make. Okay, because all the information is given to us. So if we don't get it right, we have either entered something in wrong ourselves, typed it wrong, which I've done before, or added or subtracted wrong, which I've done before, usually when I'm in a hurry. Also, I want to point out that on page, let me find the page. (173) and 174 in your book, it's 1.5 pages of error information. Okay, you should read through. I don't need to read it for you, but it's good information. Okay, in which balance sheet column is net income recorded in the worksheet? That would be the balance sheet credit column. In which balance sheet column is net loss recorded in the worksheet? The balance sheet debit column. What is the first step in checking for arithmetic errors when 2 column totals are not in balance? Subtract the smaller total from the larger total to find the difference. That is information that is on page 173 and 174. Read it. What is one way to check for an error caused by transposed numbers? It's funny, it works. The difference between 2 column totals can be divided evenly by 9. Weird but true. And that is on page 173 and 174. What term is used to describe an error that occurs when numbers are moved to the right or left in an amount column? Okay, I'm telling you, I've told you a few times now. Read it.